I'm getting a few complaints that my intros are becoming increasingly long and winding with very little to do with the actual substance of the video, but I'm sorry, I'm not changing anything for today's video. Get ready for a really long, boring, disjointed stream of consciousness. Now, do you guys see the fuss with this Chappell Roan hepcat? I have something very controversial and interesting to say about that. I also have a point about incest, vaginas, drag, and the fall of the Jing dynasty, which ties into my point about Chappell Roan. But first, let's start with talking about how Chappell Roan hates her fans and how much I can relate. Oh, suck! No, today's video is about the federal government's proposed misinformation laws. And it looks like if they passed, I'd be guilty as charged. But seriously though, I do love my fans. Not really. But I do listen to them. Well, not really. Seriously though, I love my fans, I listen to my audience, I'm genuinely sorry about the long intros, it won't happen again. One negative comment and I'll change my entire shtick, you're in control. Comment what you want me to do, anything, I'll do it, please! I'm desperate for your approval! You want me to spread lies online? I'll risk prosecution for you. Spanion's actually a female to male transgender! Now clarification, it's not me risking prosecution, though I am risking death with that Spanion joke. It's YouTube or whatever social media platform you're currently watching this on, so live leak. Risking huge fines for not censoring what the government determines is misinformation or disinformation, because Labor have given in to the worst impulses developed through years of visits to Canberra cafes, politicians bumping into politicians, bureaucrats bumping into bureaucrats, making awkward small talk about the latest awful thing that Trump said. This is how I imagine Labor came up with their idea for this whiny Twitter thread of a bill. The policy equivalent of, isn't Trump and the Russians bad? And also, isn't the internet mean? I mean, that last one is true, the internet is mean. That's right, I read the comments. The Communications Legislation Amendment Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill of 2024. These people need a Napoleonic code for everything, don't they? Oh no, someone's posted some bullshit online. Better propose sweeping legislation to force multinational companies to regulate speech of Australians on behalf of whatever minister is in power that day. Can't see anything wrong with that. I'm not exaggerating, these laws are that bad. One of the provisions in determining if something is misinformation or disinformation is if the provision of the content on the digital service is reasonably likely to cause or contribute to serious harm. And what is serious harm defined as? Shit as nebulous as vilification of a group in Australian society distinguished by race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, intersex status, disability, nationality, or national or ethnic origin. Geez, what are they trying to do? Put me out of business? Or vilification of an individual because of a belief that the individual is a member of such a group. Oh, thank God. No one in government's ever weaponised a fake victim status in order to silence their political opponents. There goes your right to say killing and eating pygmies gives you magic war powers. Serious harm can also mean causing imminent harm to the Australian economy, including harm to public confidence in the banking system or financial markets. See, they're getting rid of all the good stuff. Look, I'd be totally fine with this bill if it was just this provision. I mean, it's very cool and sci-fi, but don't muddy it up with this boring old woke shit. Or significant and far-reaching consequences for the Australian community or a segment of the Australian community. Yet another razor-sharp, precise sentence. Speech causing consequences. If you're not sure what implications that sentence has for what is allowed speech and what is misinformation, don't worry. It's going to be left up to the interpretation of unelected bureaucrats. God, this bill's so poorly written. It's making me sound like one of those fucking PragerU channels. Which, by the by, Dennis Prager, can you stop trying to be a celebrity? Stick to your lane. Stop raging about unelected bureaucrats. It was the part you were born to play. Serious harm. It's just one of those buzzwords that whoever's in government gets to decide the definition of, isn't it? Just wait till the Greens get in. Forget misgendering Spanion. I won't be able to say that Chappell Roan is giving satanic, serving Lucifer, and that I've put a bounty on it. 100k to kidnap her, 200k for any priest that's able to give her an exorcism before it's too late. That's speech causing consequences. Good consequences! But yeah, reading this bill did leave me a bit discombobulated. I just kept thinking, what demographic is Labor winning over with this bill? I mean, it's certainly not for the benefit of some powerful interest group. In fact, they're really giving it to the big interest group. This is going to really piss off big tech. But then I realised, it's for Canberra. Those fucking fat cat cunts that run our education and infrastructure systems. The reason this law will be popular in Canberra is also why polyamory is huge in Canberra. It's a city of type A refugees from all around the country. Big thinkers who escaped the parochial small town ideals of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. What's the next biggest city? Adelaide. Well, shit, we're already into small towns due to our tiny population, but Canberra is a place where nerdy overachievers can kick back after a hard day of developing surveillance software for the Department of Defence and retire to the bosom of their non-binary, non-denominational, non-monogamous community, a city whose people refuse to believe that there are limits, except those that are designed by a benevolent, diverse committee. A city of people who love to formalise and sanitise everything, especially what is meant to be informal. Look at their hobbies. Polyamory, formalise cheating on your spouse. Lobbying, formalise back scratching. Light rails, formalise buses. Indoor bouldering, formalise climbing up a rock. Even their fucking famous natural landmark, Lake Burley Griffin. It's a fake lake! And it's shallow! And it's designed by a committee! So great work, Labor. If only Canberra had a marginal electorate that you needed to win. They're going to froth at this legislation regulating shitposting, which is pretty much what it does. Don't believe me? Well, let me back up my point with testimony from a man who was a member of a very special group. A group of Australia's most famous disingenuous liars. I mean, fuck me. Liberals are obviously going to hate a misinformation bill, aren't they? But today, this man is right. This actually might be a first. I'm going to use an op-ed written by a Liberal shadow minister to attack a Labor policy. And I do that sincerely. Go the Libs! David Coleman is the shadow communications minister, and he points out in an op-ed, under Labor's misinformation bill, if a comedian says something for the purpose of parody or satire, it cannot be misinformation. But an ordinary person who disagrees with the comedian can have their opinion censored as misinformation. The exact same words could be misinformation if said by an ordinary person, but not misinformation if said by an academic or comedian. This is completely illogical and offends against the basic democratic idea that we're all equal before the law. Yeah, truer words! If only it wasn't from a party that when they were in government they went further than this bill with their anti-cyberbullying laws that were exactly the same as this but 100 times worse, as it wasn't a bill that forces platforms to act but had an appointed commissioner that acts on their own whims. But he's right, damn it! How can you make it illegal for one person to say something but legal for a different person to say the exact same thing because a government official determined intent? Let me expand on Coleman's point. The intent behind communication sometimes should be intangible. Sometimes we need to say shit that can't be clearly defined. Sometimes it's better when the line between misinformation and satire isn't clearly demarcated. That's when jokes can be their funniest, when the intent is hard to make out. If you make satire on social media legal when it's so obviously satire that the jokes in themselves are practically self-conscious disclaimers, I'm not a bad person, trust me, this thing's actually bad, you'll end up only allowing soulless, obvious, lazy humour.
Watch as the pot calls the kettle black in real time.
Don't believe me? There's already examples of the government being too vaccinated to get jokes. I know firsthand from the Barilaro stuff, if a federal court judge, someone who is meant to be one of the most learned men in the country, Justice Raries, if he can't decipher pretty simple irony, i.e. my overblown, outdated, dumb stereotypes of Italians being used to point out the absurdity and convenience of the Deputy Premier crying racism, why the hell should we trust any carve-outs for satire or anything else in this bill? And look, I feel gross even explaining my Barilaro jokes. I'd rather just be labelled as a racist, frankly. And I am very, very tired of making the same free speech points over and over again. But it is binary. You either have it or you don't. Because any limits on speech can be manipulated by speech by using speech to say said speech was disallowed speech. And if that sentence didn't make sense to you, it will in a fucking court. It's Geordie's law. Any law hindering speech will be cynically and vexatiously abused. I've had it with contempt of court, defamation. Right now, Mary Kosakidis is dealing with the Zionist Federation weaponizing hate speech laws to shut down criticism of Israel. This toad used it to shut down our Dancing with the Stars champion. And look, honestly, I would be fine with all of this if just one smarmy at the ABC got knocked over with a hate speech or defo suit and had to pay for it themselves instead of us. You know, I just want one consolation prize of forcing social media companies to remove obvious bullshit spread by legacy media. But this won't happen. And you know why? Because the media's exempt. How the fuck can you write a bill this bad? It's just so inconsistent. It will create a caste system for speech, giving special rights to academics and legacy media, the two suckiest suckholes in the country. They will have free reign to say what they want on social media, but if you conduct transvestigations of your own and post the results on social media, Big Brother at your door. Or depending on the merit of the transvestigation, Big Sister! The great irony in this exception for legacy media being the fact that this bill's second reincarnation was spurred on by legacy media reporting bullshit. When the Bondi Junction knife attack went down, people on Twitter facetiously and insincerely, and to be fair, with quite a bit of malice, accused the wrong man of being responsible as part of some ongoing beef. The journos at 7 News were then so stupid that they reported this obvious lie as an actual fact, but they're not going to be held accountable by these misinformation laws. Are Labor going to introduce laws regulating legacy media stipulating that your IQ has to be at least 65 to be a reporter? I know the bill wants to give ACMA the ability to force social media companies to come up with media literacy plans, but what about some media literacy for actual people in the media, eh? Also, media literacy, what are you, politicians or Twitch streamers? What I'm getting at is you know you're onto a real shocker if you've got me on a unity ticket with the Liberals. That being said, please don't get too mad at me, Labor, and keep sending me checks. Come on, I defended your NDIS overhaul last week, and I will! I will continue to do so. Fuck, I love my job. Last week's video, why the disabled are getting too much money. This week, why I should be allowed to spread disinformation online. And I love my fans for paying for it. Chappell Roan should know better. Without our fans and our deals with Satan, we'd be nothing. Like and subscribe, and if you really want to support the channel, you can post me some pygmy bones. I'll translate it to Australian dollars on Patreon.